At the beginning of today's cabinet session, Prime Minister Andrej Plenković commented on the latest developments in the handling of the Agricole debt crisis. He said that the government's new law, called Lex Agricole, would ensure that the food consortium wouldn't go bankrupt, adding that a government delegation would go to Brussels next week to discuss it in detail with the European Commission. Plenković also said he expected a detailed report from the government-appointed restructuring executive Ante Ramljak on Agricoles' financial situation and then to restructure the concern with the support of international experts. The government today also set the date of local elections in Croatia, which will be held on the 21st of May. The Agricole Food Consortium is expected to sign an emergency loan agreement worth €80 million today with 5 banks in Croatia. This money will be used to pay off some of Agricole's debts to its suppliers. Agricole's largest creditor, the Russian bank Sberbank, won't be signing the contract as Agricole rejected its conditions for a new loan of €100 million. Sberbank wanted to be given priority in terms of the repayment of this money. Restructuring executive Ante Ramljak met with Agricole's suppliers yesterday evening. They spoke about how to resolve currency fluctuations connected to Agricole's debts. Afterwards, the owner of the Mlinar bakery, Mate Škojo, said that €80 million wasn't enough to turn around the situation, but that it was a start. Asked whether Agricole's former owner, Ivica Todorić, should be held criminally responsible for the food consortium's debt crisis, Prime Minister Andrej Plenković has said that this is a matter for state prosecutors and the courts to decide. Plenković has also said he doesn't expect Croatia to have any problems with the European Commission over the so-called Lex Agricole, as it wouldn't result in the state taking on the burden of Agricole's debts. Parliament's Credentials and Privileges Commission this morning, at the request of state prosecutors, again stripped Tomislav Saucha of his parliamentary immunity. Saucha was an SDP MP but has relinquished his party membership until the abuse of office investigation against him has been completed. The SDP have announced that they have lost their confidence in the state prosecutor's work in this case and in future will not automatically accept such requests, but rather seek a hearing on each individual case, regardless of which political party the person in question is from. This morning there were again long delays at the border with Slovenia as Slovenian customs and police officials stepped up their security controls in accordance with a recent EU directive. A state secretary in the Slovenian Interior Ministry has informed the European Commission that a security evaluation will be made for each individual and, depending on the situation, some controls may be less rigorous. This morning, the Croatian government again appealed to Slovenia to ease its border controls, hoping that Croatia's neighbour would recognise the negative effects these controls would have during the Easter holidays. The government has sent to Parliament its draft law on subsidising mortgages for people under the age of 45. Construction and Spatial Planning Minister Lovro Kuščević said the aim of the law was to provide the conditions for young people to continue living in smaller communities instead of migrating to Croatian cities. The government has secured 17.5 million kuna for this measure this year and will provide a further 35 million next year. Sport, and in basketball, Cedevita this evening plays Belgrade's Red Star in the third game in the best-of-5 series for the title of the regional ABA League. Red Star won the first 2 games in Belgrade. Tonight's game in Zagreb begins at 7 p.m. This afternoon's forecast calls for partly sunny and mainly dry weather. The biggest chance of rain is in central regions and in mountainous areas. There'll be a light to moderate southwesterly and westerly wind. Highest daily temperatures will be between 19 and 22 degrees Celsius, up to 24 degrees in parts of the Dalmatian interior. The next few days will be relatively warm, although it will become cloudier and rain is expected, especially on Saturday afternoon and Sunday morning. There could be heavier downpours and thunderstorms in places. There'll be a moderate northerly and northeasterly wind with a northwesterly in eastern Croatia. On the coast, there'll be a southeasterly yugo wind on Saturday, which will be moderate in strength in places. On Sunday, there'll be a moderate and sometimes strong northeasterly bura wind in most regions, with stronger gusts in some areas, and not just in the Velebit Channel. There could be a little rain on Friday, mainly on the northern coast, while on Saturday evening and on Sunday morning, there'll be rain showers and thunderstorms almost everywhere on the coast.